Well, well. What a glittering assemblage, King Stefan. Royalty, nobility, the gentry, and... how quaint. Even the rebel.
I must say, I really felt quite distressed at not receiving an invitation.
You're not welcome here.
Oh dear, what an awkward situation.
Well, that was a clip from Maleficent, and I'm joined by the woman who, for me, looked like she really very much enjoyed bringing this character to life. Angelina Jolie, welcome to Five Live. You look like you had a lot of fun with this role.
I did have a lot of fun. I feel like there was no other way to do it because I think, and I was scared. I was scared at first. I kind of thought, oh God, I don't have, I'm not a theater actress. I don't have this big voice, and I'm not, I'm not British, and I'm not, and she's going to be all these things, and she's quite, she's a bit of a, she's a fairy, but she's a bit of a monster, and can I find the balance of it all for the original fans of her, and then also, do something that's entertaining enough for audiences, because I didn't feel, of course, she's such a big character that you don't wake up and feel like you're enough to play her. So I thought about my kids, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to think of entertaining my kids. And so I'm going to go as big as I can possibly go. And if they laugh, and if they think it's funny or cool, or so yeah, it was a lot of that.
Because that's the thing, is that we don't really know that much about her, and that's what's great about this film is, she's historically the baddie, but there's so much more to her, and was that the appeal for you for the script? That it was about her backstory and about her as a...
The script was so beautifully done. I just loved the idea of playing Maleficent even before I had to be honest, because you get called and somebody says you want to be a Disney villain, and of all villains, her, and the thought was so tempting. But I didn't know what the script was going to be, and then I read it, and I was so moved by it. It's a really complex and very moving story with all the adventure and fun and silliness. But yeah, the interesting thing was Linda told me, the writer, that she looked at the christening, and she said, how can you ever make a story where you in any way connect to or identify with a woman who curses a baby? Because at the center point of the story, she's going to curse a baby. So what could possibly bring somebody to that point? And that's what she wrote from, to try to understand what would have to happen and what would drive her. So when you get to that christening this time, you understand something very different about her. And then the other thing that was very interesting is that she said, that there sometimes it's not just what was in the original, but it was also what was missing from the original, and the fact that she's a fairy. Yeah. And when you look at the original books, it says she's an ugly fairy.
Definitely not in this film.
Thank you. So what, why did we not know that before? Did she have wings under her cape, or where were her wings? So that was another piece of the puzzle. And so it was very organic, the way the puzzle pieces came together, and who's Diaval, and this bird on her shoulder, and she made this choice to he becomes a man, and so it's who Sam Riley plays. Yeah. And so it's all the pieces from the original, and yet it's stretched out in this way where you now get to know who they are and why they make the choices they make, and her relationship with Aurora is very different.
Yeah, I got the snapshot of that from the scene that we saw, when Aurora meets her properly for the first time. She says, you've always been there. I've seen your shadow, and she has this childlike innocence to her, where everything's positive and everything's light and it's colourful and it's happy, and it's incredible, and you see a little bit of light, and you see that come out in Maleficent as well.
It's what's funny is it's almost like her sweetness, which is part of the charm, I think, of the film, is that I go so dark, and then I meet the sweetest little girl in the world, and that's actually frightening to Maleficent because she's just so pure and sweet and happy that it's unnerving.
Who's more scary?
I think she's more scary, much more scary.
I think there's a real relevance, though, at looking at a character that historically has been one way to try and show her another way, and it's great for Disney to be doing that as well, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think it's going to, and they've made Aurora much stronger, and so she's a more modern woman without being brassy and rude. She's just as sweet and just as elegant, but she's a fuller character and a better role model than the original, I think, for little girls. And for Maleficent, I think children are drawn to things that they don't understand, and they're drawn to the darkness. And of course, we're all drawn to power and understanding what that is. But I think kids secretly do want to understand what they're afraid of, and they want to get close to the darkness and maybe either to conquer it or to really to understand, to know what is this thing in the world that frightens them and why, and now they get to kind of feel that they're a part of her life and her story more, and she's not just this kind of almost a shadow that comes in and out. And
I've got a 6-year-old son, and I take him to work with me quite a lot of time, but you went one step further, and Vivian plays the young Aurora in the film. Was that your idea?
No, it was. I really didn't, and still don't plan on having my children be actors. But
lesson learned from the movie.
But in truth, we had to cast a little 4 and 5-year-old kid that would kind of be, as I described Elle, be completely. She looks at this like I'm like 7.5 feet high in my vampire contacts and everything going, and this little child needed to be not only unafraid but actually feel very warm towards me, and other little kids that we saw cried when they saw me and got really scared, because in the movie, and I promise parents I'm not that scary that I will terrify your children, but in person apparently I was horrifying. So the only child that could do that scene was Vivian, and she of course just she matched so well that it just made perfect sense, because she does fit a little Aurora, but she's also that little girl that's like my shadow. You have a child, so you know that sometimes they won't leave your side. They love you so much, and so it's a sweet little scene.
Yeah. It's really exciting to see the position that you have now in terms of women in film. You know, you have this incredible acting career, the writing and the directing, and it's great to see you kind of stepping into that side of things as well. It obviously really excites you, the making of films as well.
It does. I there's something. I've loved being an actress, and you get to kind of jump into a character and learn about a world, but you stay in your character, and you don't have such a complete experience as I get to when I directed Unbroken. I get to spend the last year and a half and the next 6 months of my life will be focusing on this time in history and this real man's life, and I get to help to shape other actors' performances who are brilliant, and give them the things I always wanted when I was an actor, and you really work with a crew in a very full way that I never got to as an actor. I like being a part of a big family and listening and learning from everybody. So it's just a much more full experience, and you do also have you can. It in the end is more the way you want it to be, because you're the boss. You get to be the boss of it. So.
I'm excited that Jack is your leading man. I mean, I thought he was fantastic and starred up. I don't know if you.
Yeah,
what Jack's, a great. I mean,
he's.
How did you come across him? How did he land up being the lead in your film?
It required so much. It required somebody who had, the most important thing was that it had Louis' fire and his heart. And so a deep, complex soul who could also be handsome and charming and all these wonderful things you need for a leading man, but also be a man's man, a real man's man, where other men feel like they do about Cool Hand Luke and these guys in film history. I met him, and he walked in the room, and it was just so clear to me that he was Louis. It was just the way he holds himself, and I'm sure it's from his background and his upbringing, that he has a depth and an edge that a lot of people don't have.
We're excited about that. It's the end of the year. We're going to get to see that, I think. Yeah. And is the Ang Lee Cleopatra happening? I've heard rumours, but that's another thing where you go, that has got to happen.
Oh, thank you. No, well, Ang is doing a different film, I think. Right now, I'm actually working with his editor is working on Unbroken with me, Tim. But for Cleopatra, we've been working on it. There have been lots of different ideas of directors and lots of different discussions. The script has been written by Eric Roth, who's a dear friend and a brilliant writer. But she's complicated. It's complicated to get this one right.
I bet. Well, in history, it was complicated.
Ooh, she's complicated. But I think we're getting there. It's very close. So if we can pull it off, and then I imagine that the preparation for it is going to be big. So it's one of those, maybe, people. It's one of those you feel like, well, maybe that's the one you put everything into, and that's where you end it. That's where you finish.
Oh, don't say that.
No, in a great way. You kind of go like, if you do, what do you,
Yeah. How am I going to end
what,
it?
What could you do beyond that one? Put it all into that one.
Maleficent 2.
Maleficent 2.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's great to chat to you. Thank
Nice
you so
talk
much.
to you.
Cheers.